Well, hello everybody out there on Facebook. This is Jake here, and I figured while I still have this with me right now, I don't know how long I'm going to have this with me right now. Why not do a video talking about the Heart Start Defibrillator by Philips? Now, all of you know who watch my videos that I am certified in first aid basic, so basic first aid, so I can do all basic first aid related things. But I am also now certified in basic life support. I got my basic life support certification as well. Basic life support and first aid and stuff like that. I am going to do a separate video later on down the road. I'll do a separate video where I kind of talk about the two certifications and what they are in detail. But BLS is basically like the CPR AED course, but it's more geared towards healthcare providers. So I get to learn how to I got to learn how to bag someone with the bag valve mask, which I don't have one yet, but I will be getting one hopefully before the powwow in September. That goes without saying. On topic with this thing. The thing is with automatic external defibrillators, these things are incredibly expensive. And by expensive, I'm not just talking a couple $100s. I'm talking they can go anywhere up to like $7,000, $700,000, even higher than that. This is not a cheap piece of equipment at all. That goes without saying. You can get defibrillators online. I've seen them on certain websites and things you can order them from if you're certified and things of that sort to own one. But it's way out of my budget. So, you know, that's out of the question. There is an organization that put me on a list to own an AED, automatic external defibrillator, probably most likely the same type of defibrillator this is, permanently. The only thing with that is that usually the people who are on the top of the list who get the first picks or the first AED that becomes available for donations, they're the ones that get the first pick. So like health clubs, schools, things of that sort. I am more on the bottom of the list, so to speak. So the odds of me getting called, you know, to receive one permanently is kind of low at the moment. Never say never, but that's just how it is. So I was able to find a company called Heart AED, and I was able to work with someone by the name of Tom Perna, and he has allowed me to borrow this very important piece of equipment for all the volunteer first aid things that I've been doing. It started in September when I did the powwow, and then I got asked if I wanted to volunteer at Pride, and now I just got asked if I want to do a car show towards the end of July. And then I got the powwow in September. So if these three things end up being permanently, I get to do 3 first aid related volunteer gigs pretty much every single year. So I don't know if that's going to make me go up on the list or keep me where it's at, but you get the picture. So because this is a loaner and this is not something I own yet, if I do get picked to own one permanently, then I will have a little bit more freedom to kind of make more videos and explain in more detail. But since this is just a loaner, I'm not even going to turn it on. I'm not even going to move anything. I'm just going to keep things the way they are for that fact. Because I have to be very careful, and that's why I'm going to choose to just show you it and not actually mess around with it, if that makes sense. So here goes nothing. So this is the... So, like I mentioned before, Heart AED. It's located in Warren, Michigan. This is actually their number. So this is the first responder kit. This was a different package than I received back in September when I did the powwow. The one in September did not come with this added on kit. This kit carries a few things. There's a CPR pocket mask for giving rescue breaths. The emphasis is more on chest compressions and not on rescue breathing, but there are certain circumstances where you still have to give mouth to mouth, unfortunately. And now, obviously, with universal precautions and the whole COVID thing, they recommend that you use a pocket mask, unless it's friends or family or someone you're close to. Then that's another story. It also came with a safety razor, a few towelettes, gloves, things of that sort. Now, you're probably wondering why you need a safety razor for a defibrillator. Well, that's because if the chest is really hairy, so to speak, then all right. So this also came with an extra set of adult electrodes, and it also came with the set of pediatric electrodes as well. So when I open this up, again, I'm not going to take it out of the case. I'm not going to manipulate anything. I'm keeping it exactly where it's at. I'm not even going to push any buttons. I'm not going to even worry about that. But to explain to you about this machine, you open it up. Basically what you do is you pull on this green thing here and it releases the pads. Now there are a set of both pediatric and adult pads that came with this heart start defibrillator. Now, every AED is going to have directions on where to place the pads. So as you can see, one pad goes here and one pad goes here. Basically, anyone that's 8 years old or over can get away with using with the adult pads. Adults do require a little bit more energy than children do, so they require less of a electrical shock, if that makes sense. So the reason why it comes with both pediatric sized and adult sized there's different energy levels and things of that sort. All you have to do is just plug in the pediatric pads and it's set to go. Now, there are directions on here. Obviously, pull, place, and press. If unresponsive, not breathing. These are a reference. This is a quick reference guide to the defibrillator. More for lay people than anything else. And also for people like me who do have training. I have never been in a situation where I've had to pull this out and actually put it on somebody and use it on somebody, thank God. But I know volunteering, the more I start doing this volunteer stuff and the more events I start working at, the odds of me having to use this kind of go a little bit higher, because let's face it, people have cardiac arrests in random places, okay? I put a safety razor of my own in there, which, speaking of which, I should probably take out. And it also came with an extra set of trauma shears, and I also carry a pair of trauma shears in my trauma kit, which I take everywhere with me. So notice on here, and this is very important for those of you who may need to use this one day, if you're at a public park or whatever where there's one available. You will also notice that they're placed differently as well. For peds, 0 to 8 years old, 55 pounds, 25 kgs. So there's the age right here. You have to place one in the center and then one in the back, or on their back. So again, there are instructions that are clearly labeled. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to use this, where you can easily, you can easily know where to put the pads. And then for adults, 8+ years old, as you can see here, you put one pad here and then one pad here. So the pad placement is different. The energy levels are different. So that's why there's two. And they are labeled. Adults are usually red and peds are usually blue. I don't know why they label peds blue and adults red, but that's just what they do. So that's really good for guidance and stuff. So if you ever find yourself in that situation and you're working with an adult, go for the adult pads. If you're working on a child 0 to 8 years old, you have to use the pediatric pads. Also, So there's also a button that you can push. This particular model comes with a button that you can push that is called CPR Assist. And basically what that does is it coaches you through chest compressions and the breathing cycles and things of that sort. So some models, there's a voice that instead of a metronome, so it would say something like push, 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 or something like that. Some of them have a metronome where it's like a click sound or like a bell sound. Others count with you too. There are some models where they actually count with you, like 1, 2, things like that. The machine will help count for you. And it also keeps the tempo and everything so you know that you're doing things correctly. Now, some models have electropads that have a CPR assist that you place in the center of the chest that are attached to the electrodes, where the machine will tell you if you're pushing deep enough, if you're using enough force, things of that sort. This particular model does not come with that feature, but some do. And every time I go to get a loaner, or I contact Tom to get a loaner from Heart AED, he sends me different models every time. So this is a newer model than what that I had back in September, because it didn't come with the first responder kit or the extra set of electrodes either. But all you have to do is just push this blue button after you have the machine attached to the person. When you get ready to start the CPR, you just push that blue button there, and it basically assists you through the whole CPR process. So you don't get, you're not doing it improperly, so to speak. I also want to mention real quick that misconceptions, I guess, is a better word. Misconceptions meaning a lot of people think that AEDs are this really technical machine and you have to push the energy and you have to be some sort of doctor or something to use it. No, it's basically a computer for the heart, and everything is in this machine. So you just have to push the green button and then the shock button if it tells you to shock, and then if you need help with CPR, then you push the blue button in the center, and then it assists you through CPR. So that goes without saying that when someone goes into cardiac arrest and they only have that certain amount of time before permanent deficits set in, like permanent brain damage and things of that sort, studies have shown, there have been studies that have shown that people who receive a shock from an AED defibrillator within the first few seconds to even a minute after their cardiac arrest, they are a little bit more likely to survive their cardiac arrest than people who just receive chest compressions and stuff. Now, of course, people have survived with just CPR alone, but the studies are more in the favor of survival when it comes to a shock from a defibrillator. Now, the thing is with an AED is that basically all you have to do is just put the pads on the person's chest, and then the machine does the rest for you. So it analyzes the heart rhythm. It tells you if there's a shock needed. It tells you if there's not a shock needed. Basically, anyone could use it. Me personally, I would recommend that you do go get trained and certified to use something like this. But theoretically speaking, if you're in an area, a public area that has a defibrillator on standby, a lot of state parks and things of that sort have what they call save stations, which is basically there's a defibrillator in there. They have stuff to stop bleeding if there was a shooting or something like that happening. A lot of schools have save stations now and things of that sort. So theoretically speaking, anyone could go get a defibrillator, open it up, because there are instructions on here and everything else. Now, a lot of the places that I volunteer at to do this first aid thing at, or the first aid stuff that I've been doing, they don't have an AED on site, meaning they don't have any of these machines readily available to go grab if, something were to go wrong. And I got into this to help people, and if I could have a machine that could potentially save somebody who's clinically dead, theoretically speaking, it definitely gives me more peace of mind, especially with the statistics and the way that they've been, and the studies that have been done on it. Now, of course, they're just studies. I'm not a doctor. I'm no scientist. But from what I've been learning in my certification courses I've taken, from like the basic CPR AED to now the basic life support, which basic life support kind of went more over that statistic kind of stuff than the layperson first aid CPR AED course.